The defense was able to do what they did against the Rams offense and held them under 300 total yards. But the offense of Seattle with the turnovers just let them down, and especially on the slow start in the first half.
It's football time.
Alrighty, what's going on? Welcome back to the All Around Sports Podcast. Sports, everything on the channel. I'm your host Antonio. Today, we're talking about the Seahawks unfortunately crumbling against the Rams in a close one. Despite 4 interceptions thrown by Sam Darnold that did not play his best game of the season, he still kept the Seahawks in the game until the very end by a 2-point score, final score of 21-19. And the offense of Seattle just did not look that great. It looked better towards the end, but it just didn't look that good at all in the first half. But Seattle's defense was able to hold the Rams, to 249 yards on the day, while Seattle had 414 yards. So they outgained the Rams, but just couldn't get anything going, especially in the first half and on those 4 turnovers that led to 14 points. But I'm going to talk about why I think the Seahawks lost and, more importantly, on how I think they should get better. But before we do, if you guys do enjoy this video, do me a favor, smash the button down below, subscribe if you haven't already. For now, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks, I've complimented on Darnold when he's played really well. I'm not letting him off the hook this time. This game was huge. You lost to this team twice. One of them in a close battle, and then the other to a blowout in the playoffs. And you throw not 1, not 2, but 4 interceptions. I mean, Darnold, with all due respect, he did play a decent game. It's not like he played a terrible game or he played a good game. He was kind of like halfway in the middle. When I look at this game, those turnovers hurt you. And you all know I told everyone after last week against the Arizona Cardinals, with those turnovers, if those were against the LA Rams of the world, if those were against other good teams like the Bucks or the Eagles, the Lions, the Packers, that would have lost the game. And that's what happened this week. Seattle turned over the ball 4 different times and lost this game. They lost this game. The Rams didn't win this game. The Seahawks beat themselves because the offense, it was so slow to start the first half. All it was field goals. Every single time they scored, it was field goals. And credit, they did score on every single red zone drive they had. And Darnold didn't even get sacked once. But those turnovers hurt you in the end. Because if those 2 interceptions that led to 2 touchdowns weren't there, Seattle would have won this game 19-7. They would have won this game. And credit to the offense for improving on the second half. They went out there, tried their best to get in there, but in the end, it wasn't enough for Jason Myers to kick the game-winning field goal. You just had to get a little closer. But the defense was actually getting there. They were actually going there and getting it done. Their defense was able to hold Stafford to his lowest passing yards on the season. They allowed him to his lowest passing yards game of the season. Not only that, they allowed him to his fewest touchdowns. He only had 2 passing touchdowns. They did a really good job of locking down this defense of the offense of LA. They did a great job of locking them down. But in the end, they just couldn't get a stop. And that was his second fewest touchdowns on the day. When I look at Seattle, the turnovers hurt them. You were able to stop the run. It's not like you were allowing them to run all over you, except for a few times with Kyren Williams in the first half. But you kind of got it done in the second half. When I look at the Seahawks, the defense isn't the reason they lost. The offense is. The offense couldn't start anything up in the first half. You had this game was important. This is a game that could likely determine the division. And I know there's another game between these two teams in week 16. That's going to be a big game in Seattle. So hopefully Seattle fans know how to show up. When I look at this team, the turnovers made them lose. The turnovers hurt them. And the fact that they were actually still in it despite the 4 turnovers, normal when you have 4 interceptions, you lose the game by a blowout. Shouldn't have even been close. It should have been like 44-22. It should have been that way. But Seattle, they were still holding on. It's not like they were giving up. They went out there the second half, tried to fix up those interceptions, but couldn't do it. Seattle needs to get better. Darnold has to protect the ball more. Because if we look at the Seahawks' next 2 games, it's not the worst set of games in the world, but it still is really grueling. You got the Titans next week, which should be hopefully an easy W. You also got the Vikings at home that next week. Then you got the Atlanta Falcons that are the opposite record of the Seahawks right now. Then you got a massive game against the Colts. You meet up with the Rams again, and then you face off against Carolina and against San Francisco to end off the year. If Seattle I'll say this. If that defense performed like it did yesterday and the offense can improve, I still believe Seattle can win the division. I know that there's still a lot of time left, but Seattle has the most medium schedule out of the 3 teams of San Francisco and LA. Because if we look at the Rams schedule, their schedule is a little bit more difficult than Seattle's. They got to still play against Tampa Bay next week on Sunday Night Football. They got to play against the Carolina, Cardinals, the Lions, the Seahawks, the Falcons, and then the Cardinals. When we look at the 49ers, they have an easier schedule out of the 2 teams. They got, I'm trying to figure out the schedules. They, of course, beat the Cardinals this past Sunday. But then they go, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe against Cleveland that next week. But I'm of course going to check to see if I'm wrong. So let me go find their schedule really quickly here. So it is against Carolina on Monday night. My bad. So Carolina, Cleveland, bye week, Tennessee, Colts, Bears, and then the Seahawks. They got an easier schedule out of the 2 teams of the NFC West that are the Seahawks and the Rams. So if Seattle can still get into this game, if they would have not turned over the ball those 2 times that led to 2 touchdowns, they would have won the game by 19-7. They would have won the game if they didn't allow those turnovers to lead to points. So Darnold, I'm putting this on him. I'm putting the blame on him. The defense did what they were supposed to do. They played like a championship defense. Their defense was able to stop them when they needed to. They gave their offense an opportunity, but in the end, they just couldn't get close enough to get a game-winning field goal like they did a few weeks ago against the Arizona Cardinals. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Who do you guys think is to blame for the Seahawks loss? Let me know in the comments what you guys think down below. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do me a big favor, smash the button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, I'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now.